Welcome back, everyone, to episode 3 and season 1 of my UAB Blazers Draft Day Sports College Football 26 Dynasty playthrough. Just played our second game and figured we would start this episode off by going through the game review, and did not turn out nearly how I'd hoped or really expected. We were on the road against the Troy Trojans. Similarly, very matched up, pretty close in many ways. I think they really had us on the edged us out on offense. In particular, their quarterback play, and he just completely annihilated us. We were leading at halftime. It was a very interesting game. Halftime, we was up 24-21. Crazy first quarter. So ultimately, got the ball, drove it down the field, went up 7-0. Very next kickoff to them, they run it 90 yards down to the 10-yard line. Get a penalty. Very next play, their cat punch it in, tie game 7-7. I get the ball back, and I think first or second play, fumble, give it right back to them on the short field, and they ended up punching it in 2 or 3 plays. I think it took them a minute or so, something. They go up 14-3. Was able to come back and tie it up, and was 14-14. Then right at the end of the quarter, their dual threat quarterback Kenny Wilborn, punched in another one, was up 21-14. All in all, it was a pretty quiet second quarter for them. They still moved the ball pretty well, and I had some fits and struggles, with him, getting third and long situations, flushed out of the pocket, running, catching first downs, and everything. But I was able to get a field goal and a touchdown. Got a field goal early in the quarter, and touchdown kind of late in the quarter, and went into halftime with a 24-21 lead. Was feeling pretty decent, especially with how the second quarter kind of went. And I felt like I was kind of dialing in a little bit and getting in a groove to a degree, but just only to turn around and come out in the second half and just lay an egg. I mean, there's no better word for it. I think ultimately, just like Tennessee, I'm moving the ball up and down the field, was doing really, really well, got racked up a lot of yards. I had 496 yards in this game, running the ball extremely well, 278 yards rushing. Just couldn't get anything to happen in the second half when I needed things to work. They had 6 penalties, I had 10. But I know that sound like a whining coach a little bit, but I swear it seemed like every time I got a penalty was in a crucial or critical situation that kind of set me back, or it ended a drive, or it did this or that, and they would get a penalty on false start on 1st and 10, set them back to 15 yards, and then their quarterback would scramble for a first down next play. It just seemed like that was just the way the game went, and it just continued to go south that way. And just never really worked out for me. Ferguson, my quarterback, Arlen's out and probably going to be out. He's out against Troy. He's probably going to be out against Jacksonville. Well, he will be out against Jacksonville State, and then I'll go into a bye week. So I do expect and think that I'll probably have him healthy back to start conference play in week 5 against East Carolina. Be a home game for him to come back on, but Ferguson did step in, and I never pulled him, let him play. He really played a little better than that 20 for 41. He still threw for 218 yards, had 2 picks, and the 2 picks were kind of critical. Again, both of them did happen in the second half, and he was running probably 55-60% completion rate, up until late in the game, and then I was just kind of backed in the corner and was pretty much one-dimensional that last probably 10 minutes of the game, and was really just trying to get down the field as best I could any way I could. And he ended up again 20 of 41 for 218 yards. Not a terrible day. I mean, considering he's third string quarterback basically starting the season. He managed okay and pretty well. I'm not going to pull him. I'm going to keep him out there against Jacksonville State too, and kind of see where we go from there. Kenny Wilborn didn't really throw a lot. I mean, they only threw 18 times, I guess. Ultimately, they had 18 passing plays and 49 rushing plays. He threw 67 yards. I mean, it didn't really have to go to the air any. I mean, they just killed us on the run. Even their two backs, the Shermaine Turth and this Jeremy Hawkins, both did pretty well. I mean, nothing extraordinary on a very long run. Each of them punched it in. They had 5 rushing touchdowns total as a team. So basically, everything they had, they got basically on the ground. Nothing really through the air there. Overall, ended up with 326 rushing yards. They did. Quarterback got 195 yards on 18 carries, and maybe half of those rushing attempts that he had were actual design plays for him to run. The other ones were design pass plays that he got flushed out and got to the outside and just basically destroyed us. I know easily 100 plus of those yards were yards he gained after getting flushed out of the pocket trying to pass, and we just couldn't contain him. There wasn't anything I could really do or call that I just felt like I didn't have the right tools or something, the right player speeds that didn't match up well against their tackles. Whatever was going on, just couldn't contain the guy, and couldn't put enough spies on him. I don't think CIA didn't have enough spies to put on the kid to keep him from running up and down the field. But all in all, kind of going back to our team and looking at our rushing, so Keaton Bedford is our starter, and he had a 100-yard game against Tennessee. Did really well against them and came out in this game and got through maybe the first quarter. I think it was right around the end of the first quarter, and he gets injured and goes out with an injury. Had 7 carries for 47 yards up to that point. Was actually doing pretty well. He's questionable now with a hyperextended knee, so he's not going to be playing against Jacksonville State. Having that bye week as a 4 before we go into conference play is probably going to be a good thing to get both Bedford and Arlen back. That being said, second string guy Justin Williams came in. Didn't do bad. He 78 yards on 20 carries. The interesting thing, more than anything, was this Lemansky Ware and the number of carries that he had. Again, I was 2 for 3 on fourth down efficiency, and the two conversions were both runs. The one that wasn't converted was a passing play that I wasn't able to complete. But I was 2 for 2 on rushing fourth downs, and again, Lemansky Ware was the guy that actually picked up both of them. One of them on a 4th and 1, he ended up busting out on a 40-yard run. He actually had 2 40-yard runs in this game. So 2 of those 9 carries was basically accounted for 80 of those 138 yards that he had. But I think he had another 20-plus yard gain run as well. So he just is just really loving what he's what he's given me and how I'm been able to use him and get the production that I've been able to get out of him has been pretty awesome. And just looking to kind of try and get him in the mix more, I guess. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to kind of look and see what I can maybe figure out, especially with Bedford out. I may actually end up looking to try and utilize him in tandem with Williams. And then the one behind Williams is Dykes. So I've got Bernard Dykes. He's ran a couple times. I think that's the only 2 carries he's had this year. Going into the passing game, my number 1 receiver, Sylvester McCants, he actually caught 9 passes for 106 yards. Had a really good day. Was targeted 14 times. Got 9 of them, and he was one of the ones that after the Tennessee game, I had a really low morale. I did a coach talk with him, and just extremely just shot his morale up. I mean, he was boosted him into the 90s, where his morale currently right now is sitting at very high, and so that paid off. He had a much better game, much better performance in this game than he did against Tennessee, and really expected. I mean, it's Troy's not Tennessee, but they still kicked our butts. Tight ends were. I did not have a good matchup with my tight ends against their safeties at all. I targeted my tight ends 10 times, and they only had 2 catches, 1 catch each. Havens was the other guy that I kind of had the coach talk with, and his morale shot low. So I actually played him a lot less in this game than I did against Tennessee. I think from a snaps perspective, he only had 21 snaps, where he had 43 against Tennessee. And then looking at Crawley, I was just utilizing him as much more. Where he had, and again, Crawley's really my main guy on the run plays. He's a much better run blocker, and on the run offense package, I've got him in there. So he had 58 snaps against Tennessee, which was still more than what Havens had. But he even stepped up from that. He basically never really came off the field. I think he pretty much took every snap. Still only had 1 catch, and Havens only had 1 catch. Didn't really spread the ball around very well this game, not nearly as well as I was able to get it around on Tennessee. But we'll work on kind of trying to figure out what we can do to get better there. All in all, I'm not really disappointed terribly bad on how we performed offensively. I'm very disappointed in how we ineffectively was able to do anything on defense against the run. And, for them to have 67 yards passing, total passing yards, and just completely destroy us on over 300 rushing yards, and put up 41 points. That was not good, but, gave them a long kickoff and gave them the short field and a couple turnovers, 2 or 3 turnovers. We had 3 turnovers. They had none. We lost a fumble and 2 interceptions, and they secured the ball. So that was something else they beat us in. And give them the short field like that, it's not going to end well. Punting, neither one really had to punt a lot. I mean, obviously, we only punted 3 times. That kind of says a lot for some of our ball control and kind of how we was actually able to move the ball and get a lot of yards. Didn't really matter though. Nothing extraordinary in the kicking in the return game that really happened. And defensively, Tennessee had that Artis Odom that had 14 tackles against us, their strong safety, and this Troy strong safety, this Semi Adiko, had 13 tackles against us. All in all, I guess if I'm getting to, or free safety is, if I'm getting into the backfield and their safeties are the ones getting the most tackles, I'm doing something right. It's kind of noted in the yards I'm gaining. They're not getting stopped at the line by the linemen or even the linebackers. So there's that. They had a couple sacks on us. We weren't able to get to. We couldn't even touch Wilburn. I don't know that I had anybody touch him hardly. I couldn't get to him. Couldn't hurry him. I think I have 2 hurries. Just nothing working well at all. And my linebackers in the secondary were stacking up on tackles. Line was pretty inactive, even though I kind of had my game plan set for them to focus on the run game. I mean, they again were overmatched. I think particularly Troy's tackles kind of really outshined my defensive ends, and I kind of noted that against Tennessee, and I feel like it's probably even reared its head against a comparable Troy team that my defense, my ends, I've got to really try and get something better to put out on the edge. I'm not really happy with anything that we've got going on the outside right there. And penalties, again, we've got, secondaries and defenses kind of hitting my penalties. If I went and go through and look at all the 10 penalties we had, I think I had 1 on offense, 3 on offense, seven penalties were on defense. Kind of the same way I was against Tennessee. I think I was 2/3 on defense and penalties there too. So my defense is committing many more of those penalties than I'm getting on offense. All right, so that basically covers the game. So we are now 0-2, both games out of conference, 0-2, and I'll kind of go across here, and I'm going to pause for a moment. So going back through, I'm going to go back and look at one thing here. So we'll go back to the strategy side, and I'm going to look at our game plan. So I've already got my game plan set up for Jacksonville State, but going back and looking at Troy, I'm not sure how much or what of any of this really had a lot to do with too much, but I was thinking that I needed to go into Troy really aggressively, and I think looking back on it that was probably a mistake. I think I ultimately probably should have basically focused primarily on a run game, especially with how they were set up, and maybe played a lot more conservative. Maybe I would have been able to contain a little bit better, and just not maybe over pursue or do some things that might have been accounting for some of the stuff that kind of happened there. So what I'm going to do on that, because ultimately we're playing Jacksonville State, and unfortunately I've got to face another dual threat quarterback that's going to be able to run. So I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to go conservative with a run. Primary, I'm just going to try and throw zone as much as I can, and just have the defensive line roll and run support, and just maybe try and do whatever I can to see if I might be able to contain this guy a little bit better than I was able to against Wilburn. And going back on the offensive side, I'm not really changing a whole lot there. I'm kind of staying balanced, focusing on the run. Particularly, I don't really have a strong passing quarterback anyway, so I'm just going to try and manage the game as best I can, setting up the run. That was my mentality kind of going on the Troy game, was to run and open up my passing game as best I can. And it did work out that way. I mean, it kind of worked into that mix where I was able to do that. Successfully ran the ball, and wasn't overall terrible passing. I'm gonna kind of have the same mindset and kind of try and go with the same thing that I can there. And kind of going through on my play analysis stuff too, starting to get a little bit of history here, so I can kind of go through and look at my different formations and kind of see what I'm running and what's kind of working out successful for me. It's funny going through here looking at this dive left play on the pro set. I can go to the I formation and look at the maybe it wasn't the I formation. There's another one in here where I was killing it on it might be the 2 tight end, or the jumbo. But I'm actually running. Okay, here it is, the 2 tight end jumbo dive left play on that side too. That plays are working out pretty decent. Still trying to get a little better understanding in the average gain standard deviation piece, and kind of I need to study that a little bit more. Maybe I'll make some posts and stuff, and if any of you guys can kind of help me out on reading the standard deviation and what this might be telling me. I mean, I've only ran it 2 times, obviously got 33 yards on the ground with those 2 plays, but the standard deviation of 2.5, my understanding is not really clear on what that's really telling me. I don't know why it would be that different. But kind of going back to that, so just kind of jumping in and looking at our roster now. Again, kind of looking at the injury report and where we stand with our injuries. Still got Arland out and Bedford out. That's 2 starters on offense. I also have 2 starters out on defense now, and probably my best defensive lineman and my best linebacker are both out, and it looks like he's questionable. So I don't know what happened with Neil. He got hurt in game, and he comes up questionable with a migraine. So I don't know if he hit his head and got a migraine, or if he just took on a migraine and he still got it a week later. So I'm not sure what's going on there. But any rate, I'm sure his ratings are going to be deflated quite a bit. So with him being questionable, so playing, he's kind of out of the question. So I've got two starters on defense and 2 starters on offense, and then Bates is probably my 3rd receiver, so he actually gets a lot of snaps as well. So I'm missing a lot of talent on both sides there. That's gonna hurt. It's not gonna be good. Not gonna help too much. But so from that, just going into the depth charts, I've kind of set my depth charts up for the game coming up against Jacksonville. Nothing's changing here. This is a default package I don't use. I wish I could get rid of that. I don't think you can, but going down to the run package. So basically, I've got Williams and Dyke set up with Lemansky, Ware, and Meade. Same thing with my receivers, McCants, Stafford, Holyfield. Nothing's really changing. I've kept Crawley as my number 1 tight end, with Havens kind of backing him up. And nothing's changed on the line. I don't really feel a need. If it's not broke, don't fix it, right? So I'm pretty happy with definitely running and the packages that I have here for the run game. I'm not feeling too bad about any of those. And there's not really a lot of changes here to the pass side. I think I've shuffled maybe some of my receivers around a little bit. As you can see, I've got McCants, Stafford, and Holyfield. And then here I've got McCants, Berry, and Stafford. And Holyfield, basically, I just don't have him in the pass package right now at all. Nothing's different really on the offensive line. I've still got my tight ends set up the same way too. I know Crawley's a much better run blocker, and they're pretty much interchangeable, I think, from the passing side of it. And then going from the RPO, which I'm probably going to be somewhat lenient running the RPO. I would if Schuler was in. He's got 88 intelligence. He might be able to pull off some of it. But there might be 1 or 2 things that I may sneak in there. Just a couple plays I'm going to maybe try and find and pull. But for the most part, I didn't really use that. Really didn't have to. Or didn't use the RPO much against Troy. Probably won't do a heck of a lot of it again against Jack State either. And of course, my goal line short, I've still got Lemansky in here. So anything that's going to be a goal line or short, and definitely use my 3rd down back too. So whether it's coming out of the backfield or running, it's amazing what he's. I've just got a taste of it against Tennessee, and he was pretty successful at a couple things, and then against Troy, the runs that he had, and ending up with 138 yards, like he did on 9 carries, was pretty amazing. So I think ultimately, we'll look at the stats here in a minute, but I think he may be the nation's leading rushing fullback, which is pretty crazy. Going over to the defense, well, special teams, I'll jump on that one real quick. Nothing's changed here. I'm keeping basically everything the same here. And adjusted down. I didn't have, again, like I said, really no bad issues, but nothing spectacular. I just don't have a solid return guy that's just like high speed, high agility type guy. So I'll just kind of work with and go with what I've got there. Then going over to the defense, I've got to basically move some of these around, but this is the deal. Again, I get stuck on this every time I do this. I look at this and I think I haven't completed something, because the default package, I just need to zero these out so that they don't even show anything, because I don't use my default package, and it keeps throwing me off. But defensive run, so I've got everything adjusted down. If I have to bring this guy in, I will. Questionable. I mean, he's got a broken nose, but he's questionable with a broken nose, and this guy here is questionable with a migraine. I hate not using them, but with both of them registering as questionable, I think their ratings are going to take too big a hit, so I'm just going to try and keep them out as best I can. And so nothing big changes or different here. On the corner, I got Phillips with Kenworth. And if something happens to Phillips, then Kenworth will come in and, Trotter will slot down, and so on and so on. My nickelback basically on the run side is going to be Mays, and my strong safety is going to be McCray. And then I think it shifts around a little bit. I've got Mays playing strong safety, and McCray kind of working in the nickelback on the passing package. And big reason for that, I think, ultimately is, I've got 73 strength. And I'll kind of have him up there in the run. I may not be running, much nickel if I'm playing solidly against the run, but I can. And especially if I'm in a pass package, I feel like they may run. I still feel pretty solid there. I don't run a lot of dime. But the nickel probably keeping my nickel back in there is pretty good, especially as weak as I am, really across the board. I mean, I just don't have a great line. I don't have, outside of one or two players that are pretty decent, I don't really have any top-notch linebackers. I'm just going to kind of float along and struggle on defense, I think, pretty much all year. I'm just going to have to keep just trying to outscore and try and tuck away some wins as best I can. Looking a little gloom, and I'm feeling a little gloomy of having lost to Troy, because I really kind of expected that I should have been able to beat them. But then again too, that having a dual threat guy and the success that he has, you just can't measure that. You can't gauge it. You can try and plan for it, but you most times won't be successful against it. They're going to get you more times than not, I guess. At least when they kind of out play you and have stronger endpoints on which they work around to kind of create that game too. So, all right. So that basically covers that. I've went through and completed all of my training as well. Kind of have the same packages kind of set up. I took everybody off of the rest. So that actually did work out. I did want to bring that up. So where I had the guys early in the season where I did my work ethic training, I had 2 or 3 of those fall out with fatigue. 2 of them were probable. 1 of them was questionable last week. So I created the rest training and bumped these points down. Like I was saying before, the sweet spot's kind of keeping these 4 points at around 22. My work ethic that I create here is 23. I did create this rest one to kind of put on the guys to see if I can kind of bring them back and get rid of their fatigue, and I just dropped these training points down to 20, and lo and behold, it did the trick. All 3 of them are fully recovered now. Even the guy that was questionable with fatigue is fully recovered now. So those 3 were guys with work ethic in the 90s. That's why I had them on the work ethic training in the first place. I did not put them back on the WE training schedule for this week. What I did was I just put them back with their regular package. I think I had a linebacker and a couple receivers, and I just put those guys back into that training. However, I have kept these guys. These guys are high work ethic guys, and I've still got like about 7 of them that I'm still running on that added bonus point WE training schedule, because it doesn't seem to be affecting them. I mean, they're fine. If any one of them start fatiguing out, I may look to start dropping back out of that and just going back to a regular training piece, because I'm not sure as I get deeper into the season and they're playing games and taking snaps, depending on how their usage, etc., that if that's going to come into play with, having any kind of effect to where it's going to start fatiguing them as well. So I'll just kind of continue to watch that closely as well. And my focus is, again, this week I'm kind of keeping my head coach focus on the quarterback, and OC focus. I'm gonna have on McCants. I think I had on McCants last week too. I'm gonna keep it there for now. It seemed to really help with the coach talk, and then his morale boost, and maybe the focus that I had on him last week really turned his production and kind of put it up a notch. I've got Sadler back healthy now, so that's a good thing, because I think he's one of my more intelligent guys on defense. He's actually the one that I have in my training strategy here in the game plan. He's wearing the player radio, and so I'm going to kind of keep him. I'm going to have him on the defensive focus side for this week as well. And there, so that basically covers our game, covers our roster, kind of the injuries we have. Depth chart is ready. My training schedule is kind of complete and done. We'll jump across and look at the stats and kind of where we stand on some stats right now. And let's go through the standings first. So, kind of looking at the ACC right now, you have 2 games in, quite the log jam. I mean, everybody's doing pretty well. I mean, you've got, looks like 5 ranked teams. 5 of the 12 teams are ranked in the top 25, and 3 teams have lost. The rest of them have won. So they're all doing pretty well on the ACC right now. In the American, Jack State sitting 0-2, and now the thing about them and what they've played, they've actually had 2 pretty tough games. Number 15 Clemson beat them, did not destroy them, so they played Clemson pretty decent, and then they were at South Carolina, and that was a 45-10 loss. All in all, though, they can't really read a lot out of that, because it's definitely 2 superior opponents that they had to play. So basically, with that said, it's going to be a little interesting to kind of continue to watch that. And the Big East Conference. It's pretty cool to have this kind of pulled back in this way now. I'm kind of really liking these 11, 12 team conferences, and the setup. It's going to be. I think it's going to be pretty interesting. But West Virginia probably looks like they may be the front runner out of this. I think Rutgers may do really well in the North. But I guess the surprise right now is Louisville. For me, is Louisville sitting 0-2. Kind of looking and seeing where they've lost. I mean, the loss to Clemson's expected, but they lost to Western Kentucky. Not bad. I mean, a high-scoring game, but them losing to Western Kentucky was kind of a shock. But they're going to be playing a conference game this week against West Virginia, having them at home, so they could right the ship. And I mean, still being in the Big East with these opponents, they could still actually run through and win the Big East and get to a playoff. I mean, that's the thing. That's the other thing about that is all 11 conference winners will get a playoff berth. So, anybody in the Sun, but there will be a Sun Belt team in the playoff. which is interesting, but having 11 of those and then 5 at larges. Going to the Big Ten, of course, Notre Dame's in the Big Ten now, so I've got them in the West, which is interesting. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams. Half the conference is ranked in the top 25 there. Big 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams ranked in the top 25 there. Missouri and Texas both 2-0. Missouri's 71 points and 6 against, so they've actually destroyed 2 teams that they've played. They beat Texas State 31-3 and beat Illinois 40-3, so they're looking pretty strong. And that was the Big 12. Conference USA, my conference. Alright, so there's 4 of us sitting 0-2 in this conference. No conference games have been played yet in this conference here. So this week, again, I'm actually a 5.5 point favorite against Jacksonville State here, and that's being my first home game. So it's going to be nice to be home, and recruiting going to be able to get in some visitors, hopefully, and we could pull off that win. Maybe it'll boost and help with some of my recruiting. All right, going to the MAC. The MAC actually has 3 undefeated guys. Nobody's ranked in the MAC. Mountain West is nobody ranked in the Mountain West on top 25 either. Jumping down to the old Pac-12, we have 4 ranked teams. And then the ones you'd expect to be doing well are doing well. South Carolina's 1-1. I'm not sure who they lost to. They beat Kansas 69-0, then turned around and lost to Hawaii. Wow, I did not see that when I looked earlier. Was looking through some of the games, so that's quite the turnaround and quite the upset. Got a trip to Hawaii and ended up losing it. Very interesting. All right, so basically then that leaves the Southeastern Conference. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, only 4 ranked opponents out of the SEC, which is interesting because the couple of the other conferences had 5, and I think one had 6, I believe. I can't remember, but we're sitting there, and again, everybody's kind of strong who's sitting there, and Auburn is 0-2, so they was number 25, but they were having in play Texas, and I think Texas ended up, definitely handled. They played both games pretty close, and played Texas pretty close, 34-31. But it did drop them out of the top 25 as expected, and now they start picking up conference play here, and you'll see a lot of the games where a lot of the teams the schedule that I built. First 3 might be non-conference games, then go into their conference. A lot of these will have 2 non-conference games and then start their conference, because later at the end of the year, just kind of like what they do or had done in real life, was scheduling some of these opponents before their rivalry week, if you will. But that's how some of that's set up. It's not all of them, but some of them are that way. And then going to the Sun Belt. Sun Belt's the last one we're looking at. Nobody ranked in the Sun Belt, and you only have 1 undefeated team left, and that's Georgia Southern. And they are not playing this week. All right, so that's that. Let's go look at some leaders here. I want to go through and look at the team stats here shortly too, because I want to kind of pull up and see if some of the things we saw last episode with some of those high sack numbers for some of the teams is kind of interesting. So right now the leading quarterback passing is this Tim Carluck out of James Madison. 702 yards he's thrown, 5 touchdowns, 4 picks. This Tyler Luttrell, 8 touchdowns, 0 picks. And go to rushing. See what we kind of have here. Lindell Taylor from Old Dominion. It's 307 yards on the ground. This is one too. I'm really curious to kind of see And this guy is in my conference. So he's in the Conference USA. He's with Memphis. It's Keenan Bratcher. He is a dog. He looks like he's pretty. 98 speed, good Lord, 96 overall, 95 agility, and he gets some touches. He's already got 66 carries for 254 yards. The first week he had 158 on 35 carries. He's got 96 on 31 against Tennessee, and Tennessee beat them, but only beat them 20-18. So he still looked pretty strong there. I'm real curious to kind of see how he continues to finish the season out there. He is a senior, so it's don't be the only year I'll have to face him. Probably a good thing. But Spencer Benoit, who is the guy we faced earlier for week 1 with Tennessee, they're back. He ended up getting 150 on us. Of course, half of that came on one run, but let's look down by positions now. So basically that's the running backs. Let's see who's... Yeah, my guy's the top running fullback. He's got 175 yards on 14 carries. But if you look, he's not the only one. This Jarius Tuba from Iowa State's got over 100 yards on 10 carries. Some of these guys, it's Mark Akers, only carried the ball 4 times, but he's 63 yards. Looking at these averages, these fullbacks are kind of kicking some dust up a little bit. And mine, I think with his attributes, I want to continue to try and find ways to keep mine in the mix and using him. Tight end carries, I don't really run my tight end per se unless they're out of the fullback position for whatever reason. And this is one that, as you can see, I don't do end arounds and jet sweeps much because I just don't run my receivers very much because it just doesn't seem like they rarely ever get anything more than a yard or two. And looking through here, you can see a lot of these guys, and especially some of the heavier used ones that get more carries. None of them are really carrying the ball and have high averages. And if you look at any of the long plays, the longest running play by a receiver to this point is 16 yards by this one guy, 14, 11, 10, and then no other receivers ran the ball for more than 9. But if you look at the amount of times that they're carrying it, you got quite a few of them here that's carried it a lot. This guy's got 24 carries as a receiver in 2 games. And 2.8 average. So whatever reason, they're using him on a jet sweep a lot, but it's the same thing that I see whether I'm simming or whether I'm in game and even calling a play and running them, is they're just not that successful. Not enough for me to really even want to even try and run too many of them. So that's it. Let's go back here now. Let's go look at the receiving. Top receptions is Jafar Pipkins and Calvin Crissell. They were the top 2 guys last week, so they kind of go unchanged. Got their numbers up a little bit more. They got 20 catches to 17. Guy with the most yards is Kelvin Sharples with TCU, and Tariq Rollins and Julian Miller are right behind him. This Tariq Rollins has got 255 yards on only 8 catches. So he's actually 76 yard long. So he's actually 76 yard long. So, and the heaviest target is Calvin Crissell. He's been targeted 31 times in 2 games. He's caught 17. And then drops. So let's see who's had the most. A couple guys here have 5. LaShawn Yeaston and Felix Gallows. So LaShawn Yeaston has been targeted 13 times. He's got 6 catches. So he's not caught 7 that's come at him. 5 of those were drops. So his hands must not be the best. Oh, wow, 85 hands. That's interesting. Okay. And then this other guy here too, he's targeted 20 times with 8 catches, so 12 non-catches, 5 of them were drops. Curious to see if his hands are 73. So yeah. Alright, so looking at that, that's going to be my receivers now, the running backs. Who's got the most there? Kerwin Slater. So it's still the same guy. I think he had 7 last week, and he's bumped his up to 4 there. So catching fullbacks. Let's see. I've got a guy there with 10, Curtis Irons, and my guy's got 5. So. All right, tight end. Who's the busy tight ends? So right now, 14 catches is leading the tight ends. This Griffin Milner's doing pretty dang good. He's got 201 yards on 13 catches as a tight end. That's a 15-yard average and as long as 28. So he's pretty consistently hitting his mark on somewhere between 13 to 20 yards probably per catch. All right, moving along. Going to defense. Let's see, leading tackler. Got 3 guys up there with 24. Artis Odom had 14 against me in week 1, so he got 7 last week, so he's sitting at 21. Interceptions, we had that Danielson guy that had 3. He's now been joined, so now we've got Underwood and Givens are with him, leading the nation with interceptions at 3 right now. And the top sack getter, we got 2 of them, both of them Alabama. Myron Dullard and Anthony Winston both have 4 sacks each. Before we get there, I did want to kind of look and see, let's see what we're getting for punt return touchdown. So in 2 weeks, we've actually had 5 punts returned, and we've had, looks like, what is that, 6 or 7 of the kick returns. And then Troy had that one. So yeah, this John Birmingham guy, he's the one that had that 90-yard return against me. Wasn't a touchdown. He got it on the goal line, so he carried it to the 10. I guess I had somebody catch him and drop him. That was in that first quarter. Kicking. Let's see who's really booming at the most. I mean, Ladusky always punted 20 times, and he's running 51-yard average, just Grinley on 19 punts. And field goal, who's got the longest field goal? Curious. So Barbarette for Purdue, he's got to add a 62-yarder. And looking back now on performance, probably the one with the highest score currently right now, performance-wise, is this Jeffrey Murphys for Louisiana Tech, defensive end. Wow, okay, so he's 10 tackles, 3 sacks, and a safety, and they've got him scored at 650 right now. Interesting. So now I'm going to drop back down and let's look at these team totals. I want to see where we stand on these sacks now for where we were. All right, so Washington had 14 in week 1. They apparently only got 2 last week, so they're sitting at 16. I think Alabama had 9 week 1, so they got 10 last week, I believe, possibly. So they're leading with 19, so they're sitting 2 games in, they're sitting with 19 sacks. So they got against Kent State, yeah, they sacked him 10 times. Yeah, so they had 9 that first week. So all in all, that's again, like I said, I really not expecting. It was a very, very weird week, that first week, with the amount of sacks that there was, with the amount of teams that actually had 10 or more, and that's definitely was an anomaly, I think. So you see already week 2, you're seeing it draw back in a little bit. So nothing's changing too much, and we've got basically some teams out there that still don't have. A handful of teams out there that don't have a sack yet, so you're going to see that, and I know that's what I've seen in a lot of testing and stuff too. Is you'll get a couple teams there that may end the season with 7 sacks, as a team. So I'm going to go down and now basically look at the total per games totals right now. So really top yard getting offense right now is Miami. Again, only 2 games into it, but That's Miami. If you're looking at rushing offense, you should see I'm here. UAB is there, so I'm basically sitting at about number 11 in the country in rushing offense. I've had 2 very successful weeks running the ball. I've had two very bad weeks. One in particular, giving up the ball on the ground too. And if you look where I'm at there, it's pretty ugly also. But going to conference though, I mean, I've got basically the top offense at least in the conference anyway, for where I stand. And then for what I'm giving up yard wise, I'm kind of middle of the pack. I'm giving up 377. But from a running game, I'm probably a lot worse in the conference than that. I'm sitting 10th out of 12 against the run, at least from my conference teams. That kind of covers this piece of it from that. So the last thing to cover on this one, I think we'll call it an episode here, is just kind of go through and look at some of the recruiting. I did decide to really not. I know a couple of the big guys I was looking at. I was thinking about dropping, like that Orton kid. I was thinking I might not have a shot, but I'm going to keep him around one more week. And the reason I'm going to do that is, if I look at what he's doing, he's still just showing some interest, right? So one thing I want to do is I'm going to contact him, and he's coming to the games. I've made him a promise. I made him a playing time promise. The reason that I've kind of decided to do that, this is probably my last ditch effort on him before I end up kind of really probably pulling out. Depends on what happens in Jack State, what his response is as far as coming to that. But in some of these talking points, I started loading up on playing time because he seemed like that might be pretty important to him, and being close to home is just not important. His top schools right now, I mean, Georgia's kind of got in the mix now too. So Georgia's a little bit closer to home for him, but I don't think that really matters as far as that goes. But the playing time might be where I kind of maybe still have a card to play, because possibly if you look at Georgia and Ohio State's rosters and where they stand on tight ends, they possibly could be loaded and stacked with some guys and that may be there for another year or two, and it could be a point to where maybe Caleb looks at it and thinks that he might not get playing time his first year, second year, and then he might start looking more, stronger at somebody else looking at anything like a UAB where he can kind of come in and play day one. That's my hope. That's really all I got. So if that's the case, then I can kind of go there and on a whim just kind of give him that promise and say you'll get playing time, guaranteed. Because I think losing the 2 tight ends I have, I've got Mincer who's coming in, who will probably be pretty decent. And I'll have him next year, but again, I play a lot of 2 tight ends, so the other guy that I have, that Alcardo, I don't think is gonna be much of anything. So certainly one of these tight ends that I bring in is gonna be getting many snaps, and it could be a point to where Orton comes in and if I get him in his ratings, I mean, he could just be starting day one right out of the gate. But we'll kind of see kind of where that maybe takes us. So what I did end up dropping. So I'm down to 95 on my target list. So there was about 7 guys that I ended up taking off of the target list, and I ended up finding I think 8 guys. I think I took 8 guys off, and I found 3 guys. I put 3 guys back on. One of them was the quarterback, that Ethan Cuban, wasn't really gonna. I don't think it was really going to. Let me see if I can find where some of these are. Yeah, this guy, he was on it, and I've taken him off. He's just North Carolina, TCU. just not a lot of interest for me. I just, and again, I'm looking at a couple other different quarterbacks, and he's ranked 491. Probably much more out of my reach, really. Surprisingly, that Mark Penn kid's starting to show a little bit more interest to get out of New York, so that's making things a little more interesting for me. This Andre McKinney was another one I dropped off my target. Lance Blankenship, this tight end, Tremaine Claxton, the linebacker, Walter Patterson's a guard. Dropped a couple kickers off, this Denny Dorvis and Mezigamez. Don't think that they're going to be doing too much of anything as far as my holdout and my hope is still maintaining and keeping this Hibbard kid that I've got offered. So he's going to be on a visit as well. If I go through and kind of look, I went through and I've got basically the new guys. Is Chadwick Lee's a tackle. Wade Adachi is an Alabama guy, tackle that I've added there too. He could be interesting. I'm just going to scout him and just kind of see what happens. He's out of Mobile. I've just kind of randomly just hit the talking points until I get more information on him. And then the other guy that I have, as this does this, I don't know why this does that. I'm not. Or if it does it, I'd like to know if this does this to anybody else. But it gets stuck in a scroll loop and it just does this over and over and over until you just kind of drop something out of it. And I need to get Brooks to look at that, because I'd really be curious to find out if that's happening to other people too. But going back to this, so my interviews this week is these are the three new guys I added. So I added the defensive end, this Alonzo Swan, that I've kind of put in there too. The only one that I really have anything promised to is right now is currently Caleb Orton. I'm not going to try and promise a lot unless I can just get really kind of pulled into it. But I have set all 50 of my contacts for the week, and I've set all 25 of my phone calls for the week. I did go through and max out my 15 home visits. Trying to get as much of this done. And I think my thought is basically I'm spending a lot of money. I've spent almost $700,000 already, and this is after 3 weeks into this. I don't have that amount of money to keep spending week after week, but I feel like if I'm going to be spending it, I've got to spend it up front to try and get as much interest pulled in as I can. And again, too, these home visits cost more money, and then particularly these official visits. I mean, I spent probably $100,000 just getting these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got 7 guys that are going to be coming to the Jack State game, and it was over $100,000 just to get those 7 there. I was really only wanting to pull 5, but spending that kind of money. Again, I don't have a home game every week, so it's not going to be like that's going to be happening every week there, but that will drop your recruiting spend. I mean, it'll bump that up pretty quick, and it'll drop your budget pretty quick as well, especially being somewhere like at UAB. But these are the guys that I have. I mean, these are the ones I think really that I really want to drive home and get some interest as much as I can, because I really want to start really kind of trying to get particularly these 7 that I have here. I mean, I would sign Orton, this loose roll I like a lot. This is the guy that's out of North Carolina, and he's just straight B's down the board on the as his defensive tackle. Just looks to be pretty amazing. I think he, and even to the point in the scouting report, it says he has incredible potential. So if we're sitting here looking at his scouted attributes as being this, and he's got incredible potential, really curious to see what kind of numbers fall in and play if I get him and he steps in as a freshman. What are his ratings going to look like? I think this guy here could be pretty damn strong. But then I've got this Bradley Duran, Kelvin Kent, Jamil Metcalf, Kenton Saunders, the running back, and this Tyson Hibbert all coming. And those are 7. I mean, if I could ink them tomorrow, I'd freaking love to have them basically all committed. I don't think I'll really expect getting probably my first commitment until probably week 6 or week 7, possibly. And currently right now nobody's committed. So we get through this week, play this game, and finish week 3 and start week 4. You'll probably see a couple people fall in to maybe a couple of the bigger schools, maybe a couple 5 stars, 4 stars. They should start falling in and happening, but I don't think my caliber, where my prestige is, and everything that's there, I don't think I'll really get anybody committed till week 6 to week 7, something like that. But I just got to really start trying to get this interest bumped up a little bit better. And the good thing is I've got a couple guys that are starting to get warm now. And this Kelvin Camp and Aroldis Wright, I mean, both of those are really good signs. And then the Milds coming in, this Saunders, and of course I don't have an offer to Nell Smith or Sheridan. But past that, any other scholarship offers, or the interest is just some. So that's what I've got. I've got to start trying to get some of that stuff bumped up and beefed up a little bit. And that basically does it. So I think the biggest thing for me, though, is like some of these guys out here, and I'm not sure, like Curlin Oliver. Interest is still some. Be curious, get more information on a home visit and see if after this week, if maybe some of this finally starts changing a little bit more off of this, because offers are starting to come in now. The other guy that I was really looking at here, and this is kind of why I added Alonzo Swan in, because I wasn't real sure about any of these other ones. This McNamara is somewhat interesting. But the other guy I was kind of looking at is this Nelmerson Angela out of Louisiana. But he's got 2 offers now. So, and one of them's not me. So he's already got 2 people that's offered out to him. And it could be Louisiana and Jack State that are the 2 that have. But again, F hands on him. But everything else is pretty decent. So I kind of brought this guy in. He's ranked 1287. So his physique and athleticism's not so much there, but he's got great technique and smart. So I'll be curious to see kind of how his scouted attributes kind of come in from there. And I guess that basically about does it, I think, for this episode. So I'll start trying to get. I think probably the future flow for some of these episodes. I think ultimately, when I go through and play my Jack State game, so the next episode will probably again be leading off with a review of that game and kind of where it stands. Then I'll just go into. I may shift and kind of go into the recruiting piece of it, then the training piece of it, and then the game planning piece of it for the next game. And start kind of flowing that, since that's kind of how I kind of go through and step through my week anyway, is after I play a game, is I kind of try and fill all my recruiting stuff out and get all that stuff in place, and then I start looking at my roster and injuries and the upcoming opponent, and what I have to shift around from the depth chart, and then kind of game plan from some of that. One thing before we close out, one thing we will do is I'll jump over here to the Jack State roster here and just kind of show you a couple of I don't want the recruiting side of it. Alright, so this is the quarterback. He's a redshirt junior. He's pretty. It's funny because I know it's 78 overall, which is about like what Wilburn was, the quarterback I faced against Troy. But he's 82 accuracy, 88 intelligence, and 78 speed. But he is a dual threat, and he shows as a dual threat. He's got a low morale right now, so maybe he's not too happy. But if I go through and look at some of his performances and stuff, I mean, passing the ball, I mean, he's throwing the ball a lot. I mean, he's 88 intelligence, he's good accuracy, so he's going to throw. But again, the scary thing is the running side of it too, though. He's only carried the ball in 2 games 23 times for 120 yards, so he's not burning up with the ground per se, but he definitely has that ability to do so. Even though he's a dual threat, it does look like he's pass first, run second. Unlike Wilborn, he definitely was antsy in the pocket. He was looking to run, which he did a lot. But outside of that, I think ultimately, if you look at some of their other top players, they've got like a really good tight end. They've got decent speed there on the receiver side. They got a couple receivers that are pretty dang fast. 3 of them right here, 88, 91, and 86. All 3 of those guys are pretty damn solid. And this guy here is 91 with 85 hands. What's his name? Brian Elam. So he could spell trouble for me. Had 7 catches against Clemson. Not a lot of yards out of it. A couple touchdowns though. And he had 5 catches for 55 against South Carolina. So we'll kind of see what kind of happens there. Childs pretty much is their guy from quarterback, and then running. They basically looks like they share around. They've got outside of the quarterback, the 2 running backs they have pretty evenly split as far as number they're carrying. So it's running back by committee, I guess, for those guys. Receiving, Rashawn Franklin's their leading receiver with 14 catches, and he's been targeted 17 times. So basically, he's almost, they throw it to him, he's catching it. And he is the one that was basically 86 speed, 79 hands, 82 overall, out of Andalusia, Alabama. All right, and looking on the defensive side, Alex Hartman is, again, strong safety, leading the team in tackles. They've only got 2 sacks in the 2 games against 2 pretty strong opponents. They have not, knock on wood, have not had a pick yet, so they've defensed a few passes. This Jaquan Hussey looks like he's pretty, 93 speed. He's pretty decent, pretty agile too. Okay, so basically that's going to be not penalized a lot. It's 2 games. All right, so that will be the next thing, is we will actually go through and try and figure out what we can do here. So kind of curious. So this is basically some of the stuff that they ran out. I mean, I get the same information, I think, ultimately, if I go through on my side, and I'd rather look at it from my side. I feel like I'm cheating looking in their book, but if I go through, I can actually go through and find Jack State here. All right. So the same kind of thing, I can really go through and look at some of this stuff too, and that's kind of one thing that I do is I'll do track. I'll pull this over here to the side and show you guys something else that I do. Is I do track formation as well, and just one thing that I look at, because I just want to sit there, if I'm in game and I see them come out in a pro set formation, I can kind of look at their history and see that they've been in a pro set formation 17 times. 15 times they've ran. So if I see them in a pro set, in my mind, I'm sitting there thinking, run. Defense is screaming run. Kind of hard to tell. They run a lot of tight end 2 set, but it's pretty even across the board. I mean, they've ran it, Lord, what, 46, 57 times, and 27 have been run, 11 RPOs and 19 passes. So your guess is pretty good, as good as mine, I guess, at what they're going to do there. But again, another one, another flag for me is a shotgun formation. If I see them come out in shotgun, I'm going to start looking run first. I mean, they've been in shotgun 27 times and they've ran it 24. So that's one thing that I just kind of do track, and I get that information basically all out of here. You can just pull it up by, and you can export to Excel, because a lot of times what will happen is if you're looking like, say, in their shotgun and you see all these plays, you could sort them. You got all these passes and these RPOs 11 times for this amount of yards. Doesn't really give you the true total yards. So I just kind of export it and use a formula just to total it up and be able to come up and get my sheet populated. So and that's a tool that I use in game, just to kind of look at certain things like flagging these sets, like the pro set and the shotgun set, as being primarily probably run formations for them. So anytime I'm in game and I see them come out in those formations, I'm definitely going to be looking run first. So that's just another little something that I kind of look at and do as well. And this is me, so I just kind of also look and see what I'm doing as well. Try and make sure that I don't want to give any kind of pattern like that either, because I think ultimately, if you do the same thing too one-sided, I think the game is designed. It will pick up on it. The AI will, I guess, and will start beating you at your own game. But that said, I think that will close out this episode. Next step for me is to go through and get this game played and go into our bye week. So the next episode, I guess, coming out of this will be the review of the Jacksonville State game. And for the most part, it'll be that and recruiting review, because we'll just have to go through and recruit and not really have to do too in training, and not have to do too much from a game planning perspective for an upcoming opponent. So, and then we'll get through that, and then the episode after that will just be covering any kind of recruiting changes, and then the upcoming game planning for our conference opener against East Carolina. And with that, I guess we will call this an episode, and hope everybody has a wonderful rest of their evening. And I will keep my fingers crossed on Jack State that we can kind of pull this one off. Y'all have a good night.